Hello friends, and welcome to this week's video. Thank you to everyone who participated in my poll on YouTube. It was very close, like very close. It was 37% for CRNA School Letter of Intent / essay and 40% for taking the GRE. And this just changed like 2 days ago. So this whole time I was planning on doing the CRNA School Letter of Intent video, but we're doing GRE instead because that's what y'all wanted. Now these tips and advice on the GRE aren't only going to apply for people who want to go to CRNA school. Obviously it's for anyone who has to take the GRE for any reason, but specifically I took it for CRNA school and I'm going to go over the numbers, the scores that I needed to get for my program that I wanted to get into. But it honestly is just going to depend on what you want personally, where you need to be for the program that you want to go to, and yeah, that's all just a big part of it. But if you're doing it for CRNA school like myself, these tips may be a little bit more applicable, but really, like I said, hopefully they'll apply to everyone. I'm going to go over the information in sections, so I'm going to do like a broad general GRE type of section, and then I'm also going to talk about the writing by itself, verbal, and quant sections. I'm really gonna go over things that I thought were important, study strategies, really what the test is, how it's broken down, different things that I think helped me and things that hopefully will help you, along with just some general information that I've gotten from other people, from just doing some research on the GRE to help you get the scores that you want, and ultimately just to achieve your career goals or school goals, whatever it is that you need to take the GRE for. Let's get it done. Let's get you the scores that you want. And yeah, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Melissa. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you're interested in more CRNA school videos. So yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. First of all, what is the GRE? The GRE is the Graduate Record Examinations, and it's done by it's required by a lot of schools, so they can use that as a metric or a type of score, compare you to other applicants and see how you're gonna fit into their program. Specifically for the program that I wanted to go to, I needed to get a verbal score of 153, a quant score of 144, and a writing score of at least 3.5 or higher. So when I was studying, that was my goal. Those were the numbers I set for myself. I wanted to get at least those, hopefully better, but I couldn't get less than those. And I think that's a big part of when you are strategizing how you're going to study. You should consider what scores you absolutely need to get for your program, and that's going to be your goal. So what you can do is you can take a practice test, see where you start, how close your scores are to where you need to be, and use that to gauge how long you're going to study for, what sections you're going to focus on, and really build your studying game plan based off of that. Because it's such an inclusive test that covers so much information that if you just try and go at it blind without a strategy, you won't be as successful as if you were to build a strategy based on where you should really focus from, you know, taking a practice test. So there are 3 sections of the GRE. There's a writing section, verbal section, and quantitative reasoning section. You also will get thrown a section that's unscored, and it could be either verbal or quant, so be prepared to get an extra section and you aren't going to know which section it is that's not scored. So, you know, when you find out that you have 3 sections of either verbal or quant, then you can, you know, then you'll know that one of them doesn't count, but you won't know which one you won't know. If it was the first quant you did, the second quant, the, you know, third verbal that you took, you won't know. So you really have to put all of your energy into every section, which is very difficult, but it is what it is. So I'm going to start with some general tips for the GRE, and then after that I'm going to talk about the writing, because you take the writing section first. So we'll talk about the writing section, then the verbal section, then quant. Okay, general GRE. As I said, 3 sections. Writing, it's called analytical writing, verbal reasoning, and quantitative reasoning. As I said, have a study strategy. I think the strategy is honestly more important than quantity of trying to learn material. You need to have a good strategy going in, otherwise you're going to be wasting time, and you don't want to waste any time. If you're taking the GRE to apply for a program, give yourself time to take the GRE twice before you need to submit your application. Hopefully you will only have to take it once, but give yourself the opportunity to take it twice in that time frame. I did this and I felt so much less pressure going in to take the GRE the first time, because I knew that if I didn't get the scores I needed, I still had time to take it again. Fortunately, I did not have to take it again. I only had to take it one time and I had the scores that I needed, but I know that if I was taking it and I knew this was the only time I could take it, that would just add more pressure and maybe I wouldn't have done so well. I can't say if I did better or not, but I honestly think it helped not having that anxiety of knowing, okay, this is the only time I can take it. Give yourself an opportunity to take it twice, and hopefully that will alleviate some anxiety of the test. You have enough to be anxious about with the test. Don't make that another part of it. The GRE timing is so important. You won't have enough time. I'll tell you this. I struggled so much getting the questions done in the amount of time that they gave me because it's just a lot in a short amount of time that you have to do. So don't dwell on questions if you're unsure of the answer. Don't focus too much time on something. Just say, okay, I'm moving on to the next question, leave it in the dust. Especially with the writing, because you do your writing first. Don't focus on, man, I wish I would have said this instead, or dang, this would have been good to include. You don't have time to be thinking about that. Your attention needs to be on whatever task you're doing at that time. So don't dwell on a section that has already passed. It's gone, it's in the past. You can't get back to it. Focus on what you're doing and just keep pushing forward, because you do not have time to dwell on a question that you either don't know the answer to right away, or you know that you're not going to be able to figure out that answer. It's better to spend your time on questions that you know you'll be able to get right, and that you can, just keep plugging through and get through as many of the questions as you can, because you do not want to run out of time. So speaking of timing, the analytical writing section, there's two, they call them tasks, basically 2 prompts. So you'll have 2 essays to do. You have 30 minutes to read the prompt and do your essays. So the whole analytical writing is going to be 60 minutes, but you have 30 minutes for each section. So 2 30-minute essays is comprises the writing section. Verbal reasoning, 2 sections, 30 minutes per section, 20 questions per section. And you might think, okay, that's good, I have 30 minutes to do 20 questions. That's not bad. It's a lot, because think about it, there's reading passages within that too. So it's not just going through and answering questions. That's allowing yourself time to read every question, read the passages within the question, so not a lot of time. And kind of similar for Quant, it's 20 questions, but you have 35 minutes for each section, and there's 2 sections. Plus, like I said, the additional unknown section that might be verbal or Quant, that's unscored. Those are the general tips on the actual GRE, and now let's get into each individual section. Analytical writing. I love writing. I want to say I'm a writer, but I am a writer. Shameless plug for my book, I See You, A Survival Guide for New Nurses. I will link it in the description box. It's on Amazon if you're going into nursing. Okay, moving on. For the analytical writing section, there are 2 tasks or essays. One of them is an issue essay, and the other one is an argument essay. So analyze an issue, analyze an argument. They said the writing section always comes first, and you have 30 minutes per section. Personally, I think when you're organizing your writing section, give yourself 2 minutes to brainstorm. Take 2 minutes out of those 30 minutes to brainstorm, write down ideas, start getting a little organized. Don't just start writing blind. You want to have a sense of organization, because I think it'll save you time when you're writing. It did for me, at least. And from everything that I've done, all my research, I think that that's the way to go. Now, if you're someone who likes to use the right word in a sentence, you'll dwell on the right word. This can't be that. You can't do that in this scenario. You need to be comfortable with writing, going through editing real quick and being okay with it. It's not the time to dwell on just one word that you think you can improve. You don't have time to do that. One thing that I think helped me a lot was looking up some practice prompts and doing timed practice essays, where I wrote out a whole essay in 30 minutes. And then what I did was I looked up online different scored essays, and I read through those essays, and I kind of compared my writing to those essays. And I was able to get a sense of, okay, maybe I'm more of a 3 in this one, or maybe this one compares more with an essay that scored a 4. And do that to get a sense of, what score you want to get on your essay. And some schools, they don't care about the essay. I know I've read about some that it doesn't matter. Some people don't even do the section at all. But if you need to, take it seriously. It's part of the whole thing, and just try and get the best grade that you can on it. So do a couple practice essays and get a sense of, the timing, what the prompts are like, and yeah, that'll really help you. For the issue essay specifically, make a pros and cons list for either side of the issue, and whatever side you have more information on, use that. Even if you don't actually think that's your opinion, or if you don't have an opinion at all about the subject, it doesn't matter. Just honestly, if you pick whatever has more information, you'll be able to write more about it, and I think that'll help you, because you won't be struggling to come up with information and wasting time in that way. And then a big thing that you want to think about is what's called a concession point, and that is when you're taking the argument and you're saying something about the other side. For instance, if you're writing an essay about why bananas are superior to apples, bananas are better than apples. You give all your reasons why bananas are better than apples, but you want to say, you know what? Let's look at it this way. Yeah, apples are also a healthy fruit. Don't get me wrong, apples are healthy. So you're saying something good about the opposition, but then you want to say, but bananas are also healthy and they're more versatile of a fruit, so bananas are better. But you basically just want to acknowledge the opposition, but still kind of tie it into why you're right with your opinion. This is something that's going to make you stand out as a writer and I think boost your score. And then a tip for the argument task is when you're finding issues with the argument, and you'll understand these will make more sense once you actually start reading some prompts and looking at example essays, but when you're picking out flaws in the argument, you want to go for quality over quantity. So pick out as many as you can and then find the most important oppositions and stick to those when you're writing about them, because it's better to have 4 really good points that you've made and really explain them instead of just kind of listing like 8 or 9 differences that you saw, or flaws that you saw from the argument. They'd rather see, from what I've read, they'd rather see some substance and why you picked the flaws that you did, as opposed to just listing off a bunch of flaws. And really the main thing with getting a good essay score is going to be practicing your writing and practicing getting as much as you can, getting as much written down as you can in the allotted time. It's a nice substantial essay, because you'll find when you're reading that an essay that scores like a 1 is a very small essay, an essay that scores a 6, much longer essay. So not that the whole essay is just based on how much you can write, definitely has to do with material as well, but it's gonna help if you can write a lot more within the 30 minutes than a lot less. That, I think, is all I have to say about the writing section. I could probably talk about writing for a long time, but I know it's not the most important one, so let's move on. Verbal reasoning. Step 1 for the verbal section, memorize the dictionary. Step 2, realize that you cannot possibly memorize every single word that you will see on the GRE. You cannot possibly learn all of the words that you will see. Let's just get that out there. Let's just get it out there. Because I've seen, tips that say, learn as many words as you can. And yes, you want to try and learn some words. You definitely want to try and boost your vocabulary, but don't make that your only strategy. Don't focus so much of your time into memorizing all these crazy words, because at the end of the day, there are only so many questions and there's only so many words that you're actually going to see, and it can just cause a lot of wasted time. What I recommend to boost your vocabulary is going to be finding some word lists and breaking off manageable chunks of words that you want to learn. So if you're someone that you can learn a fair amount of words, learn as many as you can. But if you know that's just not going to work for you, don't put all of your time and effort into it. Focus on some other strategies with the verbal section. Ways that you can learn more words though are to, find a couple word lists, like I said, and make Quizlets, or find Quizlets that are already done and use those to study. So I have a Quizlet app on my phone, and what I did was I would go through the study section, the word lists, and I would do them as flashcards on my phone. And you can literally study these anywhere. In line at the grocery store, long car rides, riding, not driving, don't study while you're driving, while you're waiting for your food to heat up, while you're waiting for your takeout, while you're on the toilet. I don't judge. Whatever's gonna get you learning those words. When you're getting your hair done, go through your words. Anytime you're gonna go to open Facebook, open Quizlet instead and learn some words. You have to incorporate these little things. Little time will add up for studying, I promise you. 5 minutes here and there will add up throughout the day than trying to sit down and just bust out a study session. Break it up into little bits. I'm telling you, it works. So in addition to learning words, there are reading comprehension sections where you'll be given a passage. It might be a short passage, it might be a long passage, and you have to read through the passage and answer questions based on it. And these passages, they are not very interesting. They are sometimes quite boring. What you can do to help yourself, get better at reading these passages are just reading things that don't really interest you. Read through some articles that you don't find very interesting on random things, or doing the practice questions and practicing reading through these passages are really going to help you, because it's going to be much harder to focus on it and read through something that you don't really have any experience on, or that you don't really care that much about, and trying to say, how the heck am I gonna answer questions on this? Just kind of start getting it in your brain, start doing a little bit of reading here and there on things that you maybe wouldn't normally read about. And that might help you when you get to actual test day and you have to read these things. I just think it was helpful for me, might be helpful for you. Another thing, get familiar with the types of question prompts and the way that they're worded. When you do your practice questions and practicing and studying for the GRE, please just don't study, please don't study. Please do practice tests and practice questions, because the way that the questions are worded and the answer choices and things that they want from you are very unique. So if you can master even just the style of the questions and the format of the questions, it's going to save you so much time when you're taking the test, because you're gonna look at the question and be like, oh, okay, I already know what type of question, you know, this is a fill in 2 blanks or this is a fill in 3 blanks kind of thing. And you'll be able to say, okay, I need to recognize this word versus this word. And you'll see what I mean as you start practicing. But I'm telling you, if you can start to understand the prompts and learn the type of format of the questions, it's gonna save you a lot of time and help you with boosting your score. Oh, the quant section. I did not like the quant section. I feel like I'm pretty good at math, but there's just so much math that you could learn for this test. And what I've learned is sometimes you don't even really need to do that much math. Sometimes you just need to kind of suss out and analyze the question, and you'll realize you don't have to do that much math. But for the ones that you do need to do math on, my tips are get familiar with your times tables now. I know it sounds silly, but like I couldn't do simple multiplication. I mean, I could do simple multiplication, but it took me more time kind of getting back into it, because like how often do you have to do a multiplication problem where you just pull out your phone, go on your calculator, and just type it in? You don't have time to do that. Any time that you can save on the GRE is gonna be so worth it. So get familiar with doing simple multiplication, addition in your head, and you know, the more that you can get familiar doing 6 times 7, 5 times 3, it sounds simple, but sometimes it takes us an extra couple of seconds to do these problems in our head. And if we can cut out these couple of seconds, it makes such a difference, I'm telling you. So practice your simple math, and it's gonna take you a long, long way when you're doing the GRE. Another thing, when you're doing a question, if it has a variable like an X, and you wanna substitute something, look in the answer choices, start plugging in answer choices instead of going through and trying to solve a whole problem. Sometimes it's faster to pick out the answer choices and start with the simple ones like the 2s, the 5s, the small numbers, or if it's not something that you can plug in from the answer choice, use simple numbers when you're plugging things in. So use 2s, use 5s, simple numbers that aren't going to give you, you know, crazy, like don't use a 7 because it's just, I don't know, it's just not an easy number. It'll make more sense when you're doing it, I promise. A lot of these things, I feel like you might have to start studying and start recognizing things, and then you might be like, oh, she was right. She was right. I think one of the big things for Quant 2 is don't try to learn everything. Don't try and sit there and, like, that was my study strategy when I started, was to go through and try and relearn geometry, relearn algebra, and that just wasn't feasible. You can't learn everything that you need to know for 40 questions worth of information. Practice tests are where it's at. Do your practice tests and find the areas that you're not that good in, and then go back and learn those things. So, you know, say you go through the practice test, you did really good on your geometry, not so great on your algebra. Then break down, okay, I got this part right in algebra, but I didn't get this thing right. Then go and watch a lesson on that. Then go and, you know, read about that. Do more practice on that. Focused studying is going to go such a long way on the GRE than just taking a full-blown approach and trying to learn algebra and geometry from the get-go. So let's wrap it up. Let's summarize the main points. I should have said this earlier, but please invest in your resources and invest in your future, because the GRE, it's expensive, so the less times you have to take it, the better. I personally use Magoosh to study. I know people have used Kaplan, but I paid the money. I think I did like the 6 month, but I think I studied for a total of 3 months before I took the GRE, and it's gonna vary for everyone. But invest in a good resource that's going to give you access to practice tests with good rationales and lessons, because it's gonna pay off in the future. You know, it's really worth putting the money in now and investing in your future. Hashtag not sponsored, hashtag probably should be, but I'm just kidding. So yeah, please invest in your resources because they're going to take you a long way. Time is the enemy. So don't waste time, don't dwell on questions. If you don't feel good about it, you know, an answer, sometimes you just gotta keep it moving. If you know that you are not possibly going to recall the definition to this word, if you know that it is not in your brain anywhere, let it go, move on to the next question, and hopefully you'll know more in the next one. Give yourself time to take the GRE twice in the time that you need before you submit your application or whatever it is that you know, whatever your deadline is, because it takes a lot of pressure off going into it the first time. Have a good study strategy. Take a full test one time, a full practice test one time, find your score from that, and then make a study plan based on how you're going to improve your score and get to the scores that you need. And really the biggest thing is be easy on yourself. It's a hard test. You're gonna do fine. You're gonna do great. Just put in the work and you'll reach your goals. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post new videos every Sunday night at 8 p.m. so you can fall asleep with propofol diaries. Good night.